Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this short video. I'm going to show you what I believe are 70 Chinese persons you should definitely have heard of. For this compilation, I asked some Chinese friends after I myself started writing down all the Chinese persons I came across when reading or when talking to Chinese persons. And this is the result of this long project. And I wanted to film this video for almost 6 months now, and now finally I got the time, and so let's dive in. So let's start with the first person, with the first emperor. This is a mythological emperor, Huang Di, so the Yellow Emperor. He lived already before the Shang, Xia, and Zhou dynasty. Then to the second person, we all know this guy. It's Confucius. It's Confuzi, and now we know the Confucius Institutes, and he is famous for especially the Lunyu and Confucian philosophy, where you have this five relations like father-son or teacher-student and emperor and all the normal people. These relations. Then we have Sun Tzu, of course, and maybe you have seen the video already where I reviewed Sun Tzu Bingfa, so the art of war, militarist and strategist. Definitely, you should have heard about him. Then Lao Tzu. So he is the founder of Taoism, and he wrote the Tao Te Ching. If you hear about this yin and yang, this so yin means dark, yang is the bright side, is the white, or yin is like black. This comes from Taoism. And Shangyang, he is a legalist. Mengzi, also a very famous Confucian scholar. And Zhuangzi, he's a Taoist author. And you maybe have heard about his Mengdia. So this is the poem of the the dream of the butterfly. Then Qin Shi Huang, the first Chinese dynasty, or the Qin dynasty, was found in 221 before Christus, the Qin Chao. And in Xi'an you can visit the Bin Mayong. So his huge tomb with all the horses and soldiers made for him. Qin Shi Huang. And Chen Sheng, he is known as a person from the Nongzun and a rebel. And together with Wu Guang, they rose up to fight the Han dynasty, I think. Yes, to fight the Qin dynasty like this. And then Liu Bang, he was the first Han emperor. And Xiang Yu, he was a warlord. I think he was fighting against Liu Bang. Then Sima Qian, one of the greatest historians, ancient historians in China, who wrote the Shiji, which I haven't read yet. Then Cao Cao, you should know him as being a warlord of the Three Kingdoms and he was in the northern part in Wei. And there's the saying that if you say "Shuo Cao 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 Dao," so it means if you speak of the devil will come. And this was at the end of the Han dynasty of the Han Chao. And Zhou Yu, he was the general of the southern Wu, so just on the southeast, and he fought later together with Liu Bei, and especially at the Battle of Red Cliff, Zhebi. So there's also a famous movie, and I just made also a video about my favorite Chinese movies, and this one was in this list of 10 movies. And now Zhuge Liang, a very famous military general, and Wang Xizhe, a famous calligrapher. And then Tao Yuanming, my Chinese friends told me his poems have been read by most Chinese students, and especially Tao Hua Yuanji. I didn't read him, any things of him yet. Li Shimen was the greatest king during the Tang dynasty. And Xuanzang, he is the most important Buddhist because he was the guy going to India and searching for Buddhism and then bringing it back to China. Then Wu Chao, or also known as Wu Zetian, is also the first woman in this list here, and she was de facto the first female emperor. And I chose this Chao because I like this character, because sometimes you can create characters, and that's what she did, I think, with the sun and the moon is bringing light into the darkness, into the emptiness. And Li Bai, also a very famous poet during the Tang Dynasty. Then we have Du Fu, another famous poet, roughly the same time. Then Wang Anshe, he's one of the Tang Song Ba Bada Jiao. I forgot this name, but a famous poet as well. Then Su Shi, not Sushi, and again a famous poet. Then Zhu Xi, he is quite important because he was the founder of Neo-Confucianism. Then we have Genghis Khan. Now we're coming to the Mongols, which came from the north and invading China and getting more and more successful, and also went later towards the west and expanded there a lot. And this is Genghis Khan. And founder and ruler of Mongol Empire. Here we still have Songzhao, because in some places in China the dynasties always lasted longer, or kingdoms lasted longer than in other places. Then Yuan Shizhu, or which people in most English-speaking countries know as Kublai Khan, also quite famous. This was roughly the time when Marco Polo is said to visited China. And Zhu Yuanzhang then is the first Ming emperor, also known as Hongwu. And Zheng He, this admiral you should have known of, because they were already before Christoph Columbus or Magellan was exploring the world. Zheng He and China during the Ming dynasty, during the early Ming dynasty, were already exploring, and they went, I think, almost to East Africa, or definitely India, that's for sure. And they had big ships, but later, during the Ming and Qing dynasty, they made bad decisions and decided that they should stop and not invest anymore in this exploration, and and focus on the internal politics in China and internal going-ons in China. Then Yongle, so this is like the happiness forever emperor. He is the third emperor of Ming Dynasty, and Yongle is a famous name in China. And I think there's some brands which be named like this, and yeah, you come quite often across his name. Yeah, then Wu Chang'an, he is the writer of The Journey to the West, and I've just told you about the Buddhists who went to India before. And I think all Chinese people know this story. Zhu Youjian, he is the last emperor of the Ming Dynasty, and he has several names. Then Kangxi is one of the greatest kings of whole China, and also the longest reigning emperor. And I think there's also a Kangxi Zidian. So a Kangxi Zidian is a dictionary. Then Cao Xueqin, he is the writer of Hong Lo Meng. This is also one of the most famous Chinese books. So there's like 4 big famous Chinese books. This is The Dream of the Red Chamber. This is The Journey to the West. This is Shui Hu Zhuan, so The Water Margin. And this is the last one, which is San Guo Yan Yi, so The Three Kingdoms, or the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Then further, Lin Zixu, he's a Chinese hero because he fought against, and I think he burned opium, and yeah, that's why he's supposed to be known as a hero. Then Wei Yuan, he was a Qing dynasty thinker and a scholar who tried, I'm not sure if he tried to reform China, but he proposed many things. Then Cixi Taiho is the second woman I name here, and she's also known as Empress Dowager. Yeah, you see already it's until 1908. so until the end of Qing dynasty, almost until the end of Qing dynasty. And I think she was quite mighty, more than the actual, of course, more than the actual emperor. And then we have Yanfu. He was the writer and translator of Western books, as you can read here. I haven't read anything from him because he translated it into Chinese. Then Sun Zhongshan, yes, Sun Yat-sen, one of the most important Chinese people, I believe, and later he is said to be the creator of the Xinhai Geming, so of the Xinhai Revolution, which finally stopped the Qing dynasty or overthrew it, and then they established the Zhonghua Minguo, so the Republic of China, as you can see in 1912, after 1 year after the Qinhai Geming. But actually, it was not due to his success that they were having this revolution. The revolution would have took place anyway, but was important there, and then he was the founder of the Kuomintang, the GMD, which is still now active in Taiwan. And you can see here I wrote San Min Zhu. I think this was what he believed, that a state will be efficient is democracy, then nationalism, and brotherhood. I will write it here. I can't remember exactly. Then Lu Xun, again a famous Chinese writer. Oh wait, I forgot one thing here. This, if you are in China and you can go to Nanjing, I recommend this because Nanjing was also the capital in China from 1927, and you can go here to his tomb. This is his memorial. I think his body is still there, but it's a very nice place on a hill, and it's cool. Then Lu Xun, yes, Quangren Rilji. I have this book here where he said that people are Chirenderen, eating people. One of the most Chinese writers, maybe ahead of his times back then. And Jiang Jieshi, Chiang Kai-shek. Yes, he was then after Sun Zhongshan died, he was then the leader of the Kuomintang and fought against Mao Zedong. And until 1949, when they lost the civil war, so they had to flee to Taiwan. Then Li Dazhao, he was a founding member of the CCP in 1921. I think one of 11 or 13 members. Hu Shi is also a very famous Chinese writer. I also hadn't had the chance yet to read anything from him. Mao Zedong, we all know Mao Zedong, Mao Zhuxi, the great leader. He was the founder of Junghuo Renmin Gonghe. So all of the People's Republic of China, which we have today. I wrote here Da Yue Jin and Wenhua Da Geming, so the Great Leap Forward, and the proletaric cultural revolution, the big proletaric cultural revolution, because these are two things which were big project which he initiated. And of course, he was also a founding member of the Gongchandang, of the Communist Party of China. He reformed China a lot, in many good ways, of course, because there's the United China, and he reformed the language, he abolished prostitution, etc., etc. But of course, there was because of the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution, because he was so motivated to reform and revolt, that he didn't care so much about all the people, all the lives which died, all the deaths back then. Then Zhou Enlai, he is one of the most important Chinese persons during the time when Mao Zedong also lived. You see, 1976, he died just before Mao Zedong died, and he was more of a conservative, less impulsive person than Mao Zedong, but still people criticize him that he didn't do as much as he could have done to reduce Mao Zedong's bad impacts during the Cultural Revolution. but Zhou Enlai, I think he did a lot in diplomacy as well. When Henry Kissinger and Nixon visited China, as well as Deng Xiaoping did later then. And Lao She, another novelist here. I read this book, Chaguan. You can also see here the short summary of me summarizing this book and why you should read it or not. Deng Xiaoping, yes, the reformer, you definitely should know him for this reform and opening up policy, the Geige Kaifang. Because after Mao Zedong, for 30 years, almost 30 years in place until his death, China didn't develop much. But they saw, okay, communism doesn't work, so we need to find a new system. And Deng Xiaoping, he saw, okay, that you have free markets, this system can work, and also still with a one-party state. So they reformed their system and slowly allowed to have markets, to have free prices, etc., etc. So it's due to him mainly, out of my perspective, that China is there where they are today. Then Lin Biao, a military general, and I think he was kind of the creator of this book here, Lei Feng. This is the communist soldier. Yes, quite funny. Manhua Pian. But I think he died, or yeah, in a plane crash over Xinjiang or Mongolia, because Mao Zedong got suspicious of him, and yeah, but that's enough to him. Fei Xiaotong, a sociologist who wrote Jiang Tu Zhongguo. Then Hua Guofeng, he is a CCP chairman, I think just after Mao Zedong's death. Then Jiang Qing, this was one of Mao's wives, and she is famous for being part of the Gang of Four. And the Gang of Four were just at the end of Mao Zedong, where he got, I think it was the late 70s as well, 76, where he died, where they were the more oppressive, or the one side fighting against Deng Xiaoping and the more reformative and opening up side. And later she was imprisoned, and I think she died in prison as well. Then Hu Yaobang, he is general secretary, was general secretary, and Qian Xuesen, sorry, he was an astronautic scientist. Yes, famous for coming back from the US to China in order to help China develop. And I think he also helped China to invent their first atomic bomb. Then Jiang Zemin, he's the first official president of China from 1993 to 2003. Then we have Zhu Rongji, very famous for his for being, I think he was first a mayor of Shanghai, and then also premier from 1998 until 2003. So, and he did help there of China to join the WTO. Chu Yoyo, she's a pharmaceutical chemist, and she developed, I think, some kind of chemical products. I'm not good in chemistry, to help to fight malaria. Or yeah, exactly. Yuan Longping, he just died recently. I didn't know him before he died, but he was then shown many times over the media, and he is famous because he developed more durable rice, which helped to get over a lot of starvation around the world, because this rice is stronger and can give you more, I think, calories, or I don't know exactly. Yeah, Fang Lizhe, he is an astrophysicist, and he had his liberal ideas, and he also helped, or was one factor that then later people got into this democratic movement until before 1989, that when it came to Tiananmen massacre. Then you have Hu Jintao. He was the second president just after Jiang Zemin. San Mao, she's also a very famous writer, born in Chongqing, and her book here, this Sahala Gushe, and she lived also in Spain, I think for a short time also in Germany, but her longest time I think she lived in Taiwan. Ren Zhengfei, he's the founder of Huawei, and yes, so because Huawei is now a very big, maybe the technology company from China, and Chinese people are definitely proud of Huawei. So Ren Zhengfei is important, I think, to have known him. Then Zhang Yimou, a film director, maybe the greatest film director from China. I watched his Huozhe To Live, which was also a recommendation from my Chinese teacher. Then we have Xi Jinping, the current president, so after Hu Jintao. And yeah, we will see until when. Deng Lijun, so maybe in English-speaking countries known as Teresa Teng. She was first introduced to me also by my former Chinese teacher, who said he always loves to listen to her songs, and I also like a few of her songs. And I remember to have heard that during the early 90s, people would have said, during the day, you listen to what Deng Xiaoping says, and in the evening, you listen to what Teresa Teng is singing. And you're going to dance to it, maybe. Mo Yan, also another famous novelist. Li Keqiang, he is premier of the current premier of China, so the head of the state council. And then we have Liu Cixin, the famous science fiction writer of Santi, of the three-body problem, and Ma Yun, the founder of Alibaba, which is definitely important currently, and especially due to his Zhifu Bao, so this means the Alibaba or Alipay, so this application online payment system, which maybe 50% of Chinese people use this service. I also used it when I was in China, and it's very convenient. But there's also Ma Huateng, which is the direct competition of Ma Yun, with Weixin, and with Weixin Zhifu, so with WeChat Pay and WeChat, the communication application and social media to some part, and the application which definitely all Chinese people have. And this is also now I think going to change to being WeChat and Weixin on the other side. Yeah, we will see what kind of direction this whole thing will turn. And this is it, guys. And I hope, let me get bigger here, you enjoyed this short video. And thank you for watching. And I think you will maybe not agree with this whole list of 70 people. If you would, please just let me know any other Chinese people which I should include here. And if I said something wrong or if I missed things, I think I missed many things. Please just let me know and write it into the comments. Thank you.